Hello, thank you for joining us to the Bartlett SEAD Society of Engineering and Architectural Design Career Workshop. This is the third one in our series, and it's going to be about cover and recommendation letters. We will have 4 speakers today, so Regina from year 4, Gabe, Milena, and myself from year 3. And each of us is going to present just generally information about cover recommendation letters, along with some examples and some tips. So, begin.
All right, I'll start off. So I would say the first thing about writing a cover letter is that it can be quite daunting, and I hate writing like positive things about myself in kind of a weird way where you have to exaggerate and kind of make a show of what you've done. So the first piece of advice is kind of don't be humble. Say all of the activities and work that you've done and give yourself positive attributes. So, for example, like make it obvious that you're creative. Say all positive adjectives and associate them with yourself, because I thought it comes off as a little cocky, but honestly, you need to explain that and show that when you're writing it. Also, another important thing when I was writing mine is that I started off by writing a lot of sentences starting with I, and it just sounds very repetitive and not very direct. So if you kind of start changing and shifting it, so I've given like an example here, like instead of being like, oh, I like to do something or I'm good at something, start with like an action verb, and it just sounds much more professional and much more competent when you're talking about things. So just shifting the narrative just a little bit is a good idea. Then, of course, you have to kind of tailor your cover letter to who you're applying to. So this is kind of the most, I would say, tricky part of it, where you have to try and do research on whatever company you're trying to apply to or whatever internship it is that you're doing, and actually figure out what they're about. And I've put here what wording they use, and by that I mean what words continuously pop up when you look through their pages or you look through their website. Are they talking a lot about sustainability? Is there particular phrasing that they talk about? Have they got a particular sustainability I don't know, some sustainability news that they've just released? You should mention that. It's good to see that they know that you're like looking at them and watching what they're doing. So that's another thing I would suggest to make you stand out. Then also linking to this, kind of possibly talking about a building or some sort of project that they're doing that relates to kind of what you are interested in. So it can be anything really, but as long as it is related to what you kind of can show off. So, for example, maybe they did a project and they had a very successful experimentation with like BIM or something, and then you can say that you have heard about this and that in your own project you're interested about that, and maybe give an example of what exactly would be challenging that they have overcome. And again, it just shows that you're actually interested in what they're talking about, because it's all about differentiating yourself. Companies get thousands of cover letters every single year, so you really want to try and make an opening that makes you stand out. So then this links to the next point, which is kind of let your character show. So what are you interested in? It's very easy to just write a full cover letter without even kind of emphasizing one point of particular interest, whether it's materials or it could be sustainability or whatever else it is. You should kind of say, I specifically like this thing, because this will again draw them to you, introducing maybe even a new skill set to their own team, which they don't have yet. Keep it to the point. Your cover letter should not really be pages and pages long. It should be like a page roughly is good, because they do not have time to read through your whole thing. Keep a priority list of things to mention. If you have done a lot of things, don't mention all the small, slightly industry irrelevant items. Keep it to architecture if you're applying to architecture. And then, yeah, no long rambling sentences. So if you go to the next slide. Okay. Then I'm just going to very quickly kind of go through this, but essentially, there's many ways you can start it, and if you look online, there's many ways to do it. But how I have always done it is that on the top right, you put your address then underneath this on the left side is the date, and then under this on the left side is the employer's address, and that's kind of how I've always started mine off. And then say, dear Sir, Madam, and sign off with yours faithfully. Or if it's if you know their name, then it's dear whatever their name is, first and last name, and then you sign off with like yours sincerely. I would say for the first paragraph is probably the most important paragraph, because likelihood is if they don't like your first one, they're not going to read the rest of them. Again, they have many to look through. So you have to really like succinctly say who you are, why you chose them, and why it matters, that everything that you've done and your experience. So maybe choose one point of experience that you want to exemplify in your first paragraph. So make a point with evidence, not a point without evidence. Again, that will save you time, save you words, and it will also save you from rambling about things that don't make sense and that they don't really care about. I have put an example here again where you're talking about the skills you have that are associated with the work you've done, rather than just talking about an action, essentially. Then maybe a particular current view on where the industry is. I think it's always interesting for them to see what your opinions are on where the industry could go. And I've put here that you could actually end with this thought as well, because your introduction should not really be more than 6-7 lines. So I think that if you surpass this like a number of lines, you should leave this at the end, because I think it's also something that can go there and be an interesting note to end off as. And then quickly, in terms of the rest of the paragraphs, you maybe have 3 or 4 other perhaps more paragraphs talking about different themes. So maybe your skill work, Grasshopper, or what other skills that you've been learning, your design, something else, and of course like soft skills as well. So make sure you give some sort of example of how you work together with other people, because employers always like hearing about that. So make sure you mention the events that you've done and the skills that have come from that, but don't list things. Again, just make sure you back everything up to a point, that there's no kind of meaningless wording in there that is not, proving something or showing how you are the best candidate. I think also something I've done quite often is talk about one of their projects very briefly in the context of what I am pursuing. So if I'm saying something like, oh, I've, experimented with sustainability, then I would say something about which I've seen in your project in doing XYZ, because I've seen that you have done this, this, and this. So you're showing that not only you like something, but you share common interest. So that would help with bringing them into hiring you. And I would say those are most of the points that I want to cover.
Thank you so much for this overview and sharing your personal experience. We'll move on to Gabe now.
Hey, can you hear me okay? Okay, sweet. Hi everyone, I'm Gabe. I'm in year 3. And this is basically, I'm just gonna have a little look at my cover letter, and also how to send a little bit an email, because I guess it's kind of the same thing. So if you see on the left hand side, this is an email to an architecture practice, which includes my cover letter, CV, and then sample portfolio. So I insert the cover letter and the CV as PDFs by dragging them into the email, so they appear more as a picture, and then I have the sample portfolio as like an embedded like linked PDF, so they have to like click on it to open up. And I also want to touch on just quickly the way the cover letter looks. I think it's kind of nice to link the appearance and the fonts with your CV. So when you see it on the email, I've got like the cover letter first and then the CV below, but you can see there's like a coherent style. So like I've used the same font, there's the same sort of letter sizing, I've got the same kind of background color, like things like that. So that's like quite a nice thing to keep your whole like application process sort of coherent. I think lots of the main points were covered really well before. A few little key bits from me though. I think that it's like you don't obviously have to write a new cover letter for each one. Like you should have like a baseline cover letter. So like there should be certain bits within the cover letter that won't change, and then there's like a couple paragraphs which you can kind of go into which change a bit to depending on like what they want, you know, or what sort of things you can see from the website. So like obviously you change a little bit if we're just looking at my first paragraph on my cover letter. So you change who you're addressing it to. And also you need to think about, if especially if you're doing like an architecture internship, you need to slightly consider that, like, well, what is the difference between hiring me as like an architectural intern rather than someone else? And it's mostly the fact that we do engineering, you know. So I state that pretty early on, and I say like I do engineering and architectural design, and a little bit like about me, I suppose, in just quite a short sentence. And then I go kind of straight into their projects, and pick up one and actually related it to my building project from the year as well. So this kind of shows that maybe we have like a similar viewpoint on something, and it relates you to the company as well, which is a little bit more personal. So I quite like that. And then I talk about the degree because I think it's like a really not marketable, but like really strong advantage to be able to do this like engineering thing as well as architecture, and that's what kind of separates you from, you know, like your standard architect, if you like. And then I talk about my skills and how I could learn them and apply them, and how I've applied them in the past a little bit. And then I just kind of finish on like a few bits about what I want and why I want to go there. And then please consider me, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. Don't actually say please consider me, but yeah, I said I hope you will consider my application if such role is available. And this is just an email that's sent out of the blue. You know, this is not like someone's got there's not like an internship advert, you know. Like this is just me emailing an architecture practice saying, look, I want to intern here. So kind of got to be a little bit polite about it. But yeah, pretty sure that's it. And make sure you put the date on as well, so it shows like you're up to date with your stuff. But that's it from me. Thanks.
Thank you, Gabe. Next on we have Milena.
Hello, everyone. So I added in the first page a bit of the first guidance that I had back on the first year, which are the main things. I think that Regina covered most of these at the beginning, but if you just want to take a look at it, like feel free to pause the recording and read it. For me, it was very helpful, but I think that the cover letter, if it's more personal, it always works better. So you could check that as well. And then these are just two quickly examples of the ones that I used last year. I think that on the one on the left, I got the internship. The one on the right, I didn't got back. And two, these are actually like almost the same. I think I only changed one sentence, but as Gabe said, like the best thing you can do is probably do one cover letter, maybe like 3 or 4 paragraphs, and only change one of those paragraphs when you address the actual place and the reason why you actually like the place and why you are suited for that place and why you would be like a good addition to their group, but maintain like all the other paragraphs the same, mainly because you are probably going to apply to a lot of places and most of them won't get back to you. You won't get the internship and you don't have the time to write like a specific cover letter for each of these places. So yes, keep the same ones. You know, the first one, it's very important that you talk about our actual course because it's something that really stands out, something that it's really nice to have a lot of different things at the same time. And it's something that they would really like to have as an addition in our group. So mention a lot the fact that you are at the Barrett and the fact that you are doing this course. In here, this is when I was finishing year 2 and year ago. So I was speaking about like some of the models that I had. Also some of the projects that I have, so you speak about sort of maybe what you've been learning, how you've been applying it to your projects, and maybe create a link with some of their projects, as Regina said, and then talk a bit about you and like how you are, working and the things that like are important for you, and try to tie back that with the sort of values that they have that usually works, and then be like that you firmly believe that like your skills, and like your past experiences are suited. Try to keep it as positive as you can and only show like your strengths, mainly because again like they are going to read a lot of them, and all the other people that are sending their letters will speak about their strengths as well, and at the same time like never forget that this goes together with your recommendation letter and with your CV, and all the information that you don't write in your CV, you can put in the cover letter and vice versa. So try to play with both, like don't really have like the same information in both, like try to have different information in them. And that would be mainly it. Just if I could go quickly over the recommendation letter part. I'd say it's really like a recommendation letter is really short. Depends on the tutors. Some of them might be like, let me know the place and I will just send them a recommendation letter there. And some of them might send it directly to you. What I would say is try to ask a tutor that actually knows you. I usually go with my design tutors. They are also my referees in my CV. If you check the CV workshop, you'll see that that's something really common to have like the people that write your recommendation letter also there, so that the actual office can contact them if they want a recommendation letter or if they want to know like a further review. And then I would just suggest as one last thing, like if you're applying for a structural or for an architectural firm, try to let your tutors know, because they might highlight different things about you on the recommendation letter, and try to let like your tutors know, or whoever is writing the letter, the things that they should probably highlight about you, for the different offices. And then it's not really a big deal. Like everyone around the Bartlett, like all tutors are very used to writing the recommendation letters. So don't really be ashamed to ask that, because it's something really common. If you don't really have like any close relationship with any tutor, then just go with any of them. Sometimes they even have templates, but it's always nice to go with someone that knows you a bit better and that that will really write you a nice letter. And if it's someone actually known in the architecture world, it's always a nice thing as well. But if not, like don't stress out. Most of the places just want like your CV, the cover letter, and the recommendation letter. And once you have like all of those things, it should be like pretty straightforward. But not gonna lie, like you might have to apply to a lot of places until some of them work out in the end. So just be patient and don't stress out about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Milena. Now, about my part, I'll talk as well about recommendation letters, kind of similar to what Milena just said. And then about cover letters, everyone before me covered really well what needs to go in one. So instead of just talking about tips about it, I'll do a short tutorial on how to write one with ChatGPT, which is what I've been using. And it's honestly great. Do go to it. So first about recommendation letters, because that's going to be a bit shorter. I think it's definitely always good to have one, especially for a lot of places where you'll apply just by sending them an email. Then, of course, when you just send an email, you're free to include as many documents as you wish. So, of course, put your CV, put a cover letter, put a short portfolio if you've got one. That's always really good. The next workshop is going to be about application portfolios. But if you do have a ready reference letter, that is also great to send along. I think they will always appreciate seeing someone else's opinion about you, because of course in your cover letter you're selling yourself and you're saying, yeah, I'm so great at this and that, I've done this, I've done that, I've got time management skills, I've got team leadership skills, whatever. They can't really know that you do. And as soon as it comes from someone who's got a more authoritative position, so from a tutor or like a past line manager in a past internship or something, it automatically gives your application much more credibility. So one thing that I recommend, especially for people who are in their third year, or if someone did an internship back in their first year, immediately after completing an internship, directly ask whoever your line manager or whoever was taking care of you to write you a recommendation letter. I'm sure they know you quite well, and this can be very generic, because obviously they're not going to write you. You're not going to contact them like 3 years later and be like, "Hi, I'm applying to this specific company. Can you write me a recommendation letter?" But what you can see on this slide on the right hand side is a recommendation letter that I've got from McDonald's, where I did an internship last year. And they've basically used a bit of a template that they have for recommendation letters that they use even for their employees who leave and going on to find another job. But it's really quite short, and it says about how I was as an intern, because it is a great thing for a potential employer to hear from your tutors, who can say how you are as a student and as a designer. But it's even better if they can hear from someone who's already employed you, and they can talk about how you are as an intern, how you are as an employee, how you work under someone else's management, because a lot of your design tutors may be able to talk about how you work in terms of how creative you are and how good you are at taking initiative and having great ideas. But in an internship, that's maybe not really what they're going to be looking for. They're going to be looking for someone who, of course, it's always good to take initiative, but you're more likely to be given a lot of orders and you just need to do those tasks. So that's maybe more what they care about. The other thing that's really good, I think, about this, and I've been sending it along all of my applications, is they've got their logo on the top corner. And as Malena was saying, it would be great to have a recommendation letter from some of our tutors who's a name in the architecture world. So someone who's a known architect, that's great. If you can't do that, have some company's logo or something. I think for me at least, it's quite a good boost to have that, even though maybe the actual person who wrote the recommendation letter is not a known name. Automatically seeing the logo of like a well-known company, engineering company such as McDonald's, is definitely adding a bit of authority to it and making it more credible. So this one is not specific about engineering or architecture. It's rather just talking about how I am as an intern, that I always showed up on time, that I was friendly to all the team, and very good with tasks, and took initiative to do some extra stuff on the side whenever they weren't giving me any tasks. So yeah, that's about recommendations that are from past employers. And that can also be from someone who's employed you in any other characteristic. It doesn't necessarily need to be an architectural internship or whatever. It can be someone who's like your employer for your part-time job or something like that. It's to show, to give a recommendation about your work ethic and how you are as an employee. Then the other person who I've had write me recommendations is my personal tutor. For me, that's Fabio. You should all hopefully know who your personal tutor is. If you're in year 1 or 2 and haven't figured it out yet, please find out and meet with them. They're incredibly resourceful. Each of the tutors has only got, I think, like 10 or less students on our course who are their tutees, mentees, or whatever you want to call it. They're quite invested. They'll know you well. They'll follow you from year 1 to year 4. So they'll know all of your path in all of your different modules. And you should generally have a quite good relationship with them. I meet with mine at least once a term, sometimes more, just to have a chat, grab coffee, sometimes in his office, sometimes in one of the ECL cafes. And he does write me very holistic internships, recommendations for internships, because he knows me as a student. So do my design tutors, but he also knows what extracurriculars I do. He knows what societies I'm involved with. Because on our meetings, he'll just ask me like, so are you busy? How's the course going? And I'll start talking about like, yeah, the course is all right, but I'm very busy because I've got commitments with SEAD Society, or I've got commitments with Bulgarian Society. So he hears all of this, which your design tutors might not know about you, and can write a much, much more holistic thing. So my top one recommendation about recommendation letters is have a good relationship with your personal tutor. There's someone who can write you a really, really good one. And yeah, those don't really need to change from one application to another, unless it's something very, very specific. Say you're applying for like a specific scholarship that's about, I don't know, leadership or something, not that general, then you can ask for a specific one, but in general, that should be about you and not related to the specific job that you're applying for. So that's it about recommendation letters. Now about cover letters, as everyone before me said, I do think that they are really, really important. And CVs are great, and we already did a workshop on them, and they're kind of like your short biography, and they're amazing, but they don't really tell them who you are as a person. Of course, they can tell from the things that you chose to get involved with, from your hobbies, from the style of how you did your CV, but where they can actually learn about you and about why you're interested in the company is the cover letter. So first thing I want to say, definitely don't use the cover letter to like iterate on your CV. They don't need to hear all of your experiences. Do mention your course at the other set because that's a great selling point for us. Do mention maybe a past internship or something like that, but it really doesn't need to be in any way listing all your skills and all your internships. It has to be very personal, showing who you are as a person, showing why you're a great fit for that company and why you're interested in that company. So the others were saying, Malena was saying, you are likely going to apply to a lot of places. She was saying in a previous workshop, she has cumulatively applied to over 100 places over the last 2 years. If you sat down and wrote a recommendation cover letter, which is about 1-page A4 for each of them, that would take you ages. So one way to go about it is what the others were suggesting: write your intro, write your first 2 paragraphs, kind of keep that as a template, and then write the last paragraph and tailor to the company. That's great. That's one way to do it. Now, how I do it instead of that is I have ChatGPT write them for me. Now, sounds like a bit of a cheat code or cheat thing. It's absolutely not. And I have a very positive approach about AI and about particularly ChatGPT, because what I use so much, it's not going to come up with any lies about me. I'm not selling the cover letter as a piece of writing. The cover letter is about the potential employer finding out who I am, not judging my writing skills, especially for people for whom English is not their native language. Maybe you're not so good at coming up with fancy words and like pretty sentences and selling yourself and checking spelling errors, etc. Use your tools, same as writing something on Word and using a spell check on Word is not cheating. So is not using AI for that. So I'll share my screen to ChatGPT now to show you guys a sort of quick tutorial on how to actually do that, because I think a lot of people might not have used it yet at all. Right, so can someone give me a thumbs up if you're seeing my empty screen right now? Perfect, thank you so much. So ChatGPT, for those who don't know, is a natural language AI which takes text prompts and gives you back an answer. So you can see on the side, I've used it quite a lot. If you go on the website, OpenAI, or search ChatGPT, it's really easy to create an account. It's free for the moment. They've just released, I think about a month ago, a paid membership version of it. And supposedly with the free one, it will lock you out of it sometimes when there's a lot of people trying to use it. It will say, sorry, if you're on the free version, you can't use it right now. You can use it when servers more like free. I've not encountered this at all yet, and I use it almost daily. I think it cuts down for me the cover letter writing time from like an hour, 2 hours to like 15 minutes. So obviously I don't just tell it like, hi, write me a cover letter for whatever company, and then it just comes up with a bunch of lies. What I do and what I created before this meeting, and to show you an example, is I've got a Word document where I've got as bullet points things that are important to me, things that I've done, kind of like keywords and stuff like that. And then what I will do to write my prompt for ChatGPT, I'll open a Word doc and write something like this. So I'll quickly show you what this one says. It says, hi, write me a cover letter for me. So here's my name. I'm applying to a company called ABC Architects or whatever, first summer internship. So give it like very succinctly the information, so who you are, what you're asking it to do, write a cover letter, for what company, for what position, where. And then, because I already know what I want it to look like, I'm saying, write an introduction followed by 3 paragraphs. Here is what each of them should include. So this thing I wrote before the meeting took me less than 10 minutes. So I've written intro, should present me, my name, my course. Say I'm going to be Riva Part 1, accredited when I graduate. Say I want to become an architect and I'm interested in doing an internship with them. Paragraph 1, about my interest in the company. Say whatever, this I've invented. Obviously, there's not a company called ABC Architects, or maybe there is. But of course, you write that based on where you're applying for an internship for. But basically, I'm telling ChatGPT paragraph 1 should be about my interest in the company. And say maybe you attended the lecture by a senior architect of that company, code whatever. I was amazed by their values and ethics. Or maybe you heard from someone else who did an internship with them and really loved their internship program. Or maybe you met with one of their representatives at a career fair and you can put their name. I think it's always good to sometimes like do a bit of name dropping in a cover letter. Say I met this and this person from your company at a CIPSI event or at a career event at UCL, and I was really moved by your company ethics, and I really want to apply to do an internship with you guys. Or maybe you did a case study of one of their buildings for your architectural design project and really loved how they work. So kind of just really quick bullet points, not caring about the structure, about putting fancy words and making it sound all nice. Paragraph 2, really how I relate to the company and why I want to do an internship with them. Why am I doing an internship with this company and not with any other one? So they need to know why you chose them, but also why they should choose you. So for me, the first paragraph is like about why I chose them. Second paragraph is a bit of mix, and third paragraph is about why they should choose me. So second one is my current design project is about timber structures. This company does a lot of timber structures. Like that's not a sentence you would ever put in a cover letter. You would say, I know your company does a lot of timber structures, but don't worry about it. ChatGPT is going to make it sound nice. This is just getting to the point and telling it. So I want to learn how they do timber structures. I'm interested in writing my dissertation about high-rise timber structures next year, and I would benefit from learning about it at ABC Company this summer. So anything like that, anything you can touch on about specifics on, or maybe you visited some building when you were on a trip to Abu Dhabi and that building was built by that company, or not even, but it was the building made with, say, carbon fiber, and this company is developing new carbon fiber technology. Anything like that, like any very small connection that you can find to them, that's great. That's what they want. They're gonna choose someone who's got these very like specific things. The cover letter has to be very specific. It can't just be any like generic, I'm a great designer, I'm going to be a really good architect, just take me for an internship. You have to really explain why you above everyone else, and also why that company above any other company. And then the third paragraph, I want it to be about what I bring to the company. I want to intern as an architect, but also study engineering. I can bring interesting insight about sustainability and structure ideas from the initial phase of design. I have previous internship experience. I worked whatever. I learned this and this and that. I've worked on multiple group coursework at uni and can work well in a team. So it's a very like not constructed. This took me a literal 10 minutes to write. If you pre-make a document with all of your bullet points, then for each cover letter, you can say like copy paste some of the bullet points. But anyways, writing this takes like 10 minutes. And you just take it, just Control-C, Control-V it into ChatGPT, right? You can even tell it, keep it to 500 words or keep it to 1,000 words. You can literally tell it to do anything you want. But for the moment, I'm just going to send this. And let's see what it sends me. So it takes about a minute or two to write it, and then we can have a look at it. Let's start reading it while it's finishing writing. Dear ABC Architect, I'm writing to express my interest in the summer internship position at your London office. So all the information is correct. It's going straight to the point and writing it all nicely. My name is Ina Natseva. I'm currently in my third year on the M.Eng in Engineering and Architectural Design at the Bartlett. Upon graduation, I will obtain Ruby Part 1 accreditation, and my focus is on designing integrated sustainable buildings. I'm eager to become an architect, and I believe that an internship at your esteemed company will provide me with an excellent opportunity to continue my path in this field. I'm particularly drawn to ABC Architects because of your values and ethics, which I learned about during a lecture by senior architect John Lowe. I was amazed by your company's approach to architecture, and I did a case study of your 1 to 3 building from architecture design project, which made me appreciate your work even more. Currently, my design project revolves around timber structures, and I noticed, or maybe I know, that ABC Architects has done a lot of work in this area, etc., etc., etc. You can pause this and read the rest of it now. But anyways, my point is, it's written it very well. The language is very clear and succinct. It's got exactly what I asked. It's got the intro paragraph and then paragraphs 1 to 3, and it even added a little conclusion, the typical "thank you for considering my application. I look forward to hearing from you and discussing how I can contribute to your theme this summer. Sincerely, it's even got it signed." Now, I wouldn't submit this straight away. What I'd normally do is say, if you realize you wanted to add something else, or if you don't like how it's written, you can either regenerate the response, or you can tell it, "Hi, can you add a sentence saying that, I don't know, I am a research assistant on timber frame buildings." You can always say stuff like that. Whatever you say, it will just, certainly here's the revised third paragraph. It won't even send me the whole thing, not to waste time. It's just sending me the revised third paragraph. So you can ask ChatGPT to change stuff for you. And then next thing I would do is just copy paste the whole response. And copy paste the response, put it into your Word doc. Then you can edit it. Now it's got a bit of a background, it always does this, and you can just select it and remove the background. I'm gonna do that now. And then maybe I didn't like something the way it said. I remember seeing this. I noticed your company has done a lot of work. I want to change it. I know that the company has done a lot of work in this. I can have a final look at it, change some things. I'll usually spend another like 5 to 10 minutes editing the final text that ChatGPT gives me. I'll do 1 to 2 iterations on actual ChatGPT, then paste it into Word, change a couple of things, and there you've got your cover letter. Now it's missing the heading of your address, their address, or whatever you want to put that. I don't always put this. But yeah, you can decide what the style of your cover letter you want to have. But yeah, that's it pretty much. I think it cuts down the time quite a lot. It goes from this text on the left to the text on the right. It's not lying about anything. It's not cheating about anything. It's only rewritten all the information I gave it, because I know my strengths. I know what I've done. I can write very clearly, bullet points of those things, and that you can even copy paste on your CV if you wish. But then it makes it into a well-written, proper cover letter about yourself and selling yourself to the company. As other people were saying, and if you looked at the video from the first kind of workshop that we did, which was a general one on internships, I showed there how I manage my internship applications. So I've got this big spreadsheet in Excel where I've got all the different places that I want to apply to, and then I've got kind of like checking off the ones that I'm applying to, the ones that I've started, etc. So what I'll do with that is, for example, if you've got say 20 companies that you come up as a list and you want to apply to those 20 companies, what you don't know where to begin, it's all a bit daunting. You don't have like 3 days to waste because you've got design deadlines and other deadlines. You can't just sit at home for 3 days writing cover letters for each of them. What I would do is just say, I'm going to write one of those per day, dedicate 30 minutes a day, which is nothing. It's like the time you spend on Netflix browsing and deciding what to watch. 30 minutes a day, that's a application a day, because your recommendation letter you have already, and that's the same. Your CV is the exact same for all of your applications. Cover letter, as I showed you with ChatGPT, takes 20, max 30 minutes to write. Or maybe the first one's going to take you a bit longer, but once you get the hang of it, you can just generate them really, really quickly, tailor them to the specific company. So maybe like 10 minutes to research the company, 10 minutes to write your bullet points, another 5 to edit the final version of the cover letter, and you're ready to send off another application in half an hour. I think that's really, really efficient. And if you've got your list of companies that you're interested in, you can just decide, right, every day in the morning before my lecture, from 9:30 to 10 before the lecture starts, I'll go earlier to uni and I'll take that half hour to send one application, and then you just done with it. I do that on days when I have a morning and afternoon lecture. I've just decided the lunch break is for sending out applications. I've got my CV ready in a nice folder on my computer, my recommendation letter ready. I'll just write the cover letter quickly and send that off. So I hope this is helpful. And if anyone's got any questions about using ChatGPT now or later when you guys watch the video, you always feel free to get in touch with me about it. And yeah, I believe this is it for me. If anyone's got anything to ask right now or anything to add, we can do that now. So if we haven't got any questions from the people who are currently in the meeting, we will end it and stop the recording. And again, if you know us, we're all on the same course, you can easily find our email addresses. If anyone watching these recordings has got anything to ask, we're always happy to help. And thank you so much for those who attended, and please join us for the next 2 sessions happening over the next 2 weeks.
Thank you guys, it was really helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.